Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Miami Heat, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. The Golden State Warriors and Miami Heat experienced contrasting fortunes in the wake of their blockbuster trade in early February, with both teams now facing interesting situations heading into the offseason. Butler's arrival to the Warriors turned a 500 team into one that went 23-7 in his 30 regular season games, while the Heat were a measly 6-11 during Wiggins' 17 games as the 2022 All-Star dealt with a couple of injury issues. Given the tumultuous nature of Butler's exit, it was always going to be difficult for the Heat to receive significant value in return. The initial deal has only worsened for Miami, though, with fans and analysts realizing that there's a specific Wiggins problem that needs to be addressed. Just as the Warriors found over the past 2 seasons, Wiggins is a highly valuable starter in the league, but not capable of being a star on a championship team. It's left Miami in a precarious position that Golden State found themselves in before the trade. They've competitive and around the play-in tournament, yet without the firepower to truly threaten for a deep playoff run. It means that Wiggins' time in Miami could be short lived, with Michael Sayens of All You Can Heat recently detailing how the acquisition was made with a bigger move in mind. If the Heat does end up making a splash move this offseason, which is still far from a guarantee despite Miami's efforts, it's almost a foregone conclusion that Wiggins will be involved one way or another, Sayens wrote. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like. The aftershocks of the dubious Luka Doncic trade by the Dallas Mavericks continue to be felt across the rest of the league. The latest one could end up opening a new offseason horizon for the Miami Heat. As Miami explores the possibility of a big trade this offseason, a couple of pipe dream targets, Anthony
Night, saying that he would not be surprised if KD to the Spurs is already done and they just haven't already announced it. Basically, they've agreed on specifics, just announced it on the week of the draft. They'll be able to be real competitive and maybe go a couple of rounds in the playoffs, but they're also going to keep the number 2 pick and do it that way, which is my prediction. Now, this was more or less a prediction from Simmons, but there has been a lot of buzz surrounding Kevin Durant in San Antonio. There's been rumors out there that people think that the preferred destination for Kevin Durant is ultimately to be paired up with De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. It certainly would be a good fit for him because he would not have to have a lot of pressure on him to deliver offensively or be a lead contributor, because you are going to build that roster for the future around the De'Aaron Fox, the Dylan Harper, assuming they keep number 2 and take Harper at 2, and Victor Wembanyama and KD just kind of being a nice little piece there that gives you 20 plus a game on incredible efficiency. So it makes sense from his perspective. It makes sense from San Antonio's perspective. And could it be heading that way? Well, before we get more into today's show, hit that thumbs up icon just to help us out here at the channel, but also can't hurt to get the vibes flowing. Do you want the Heat to make a move this offseason? Hit that like button. Miami, most of us want them to do something. We can make that happen by maybe hitting that like button. I did want to share this, though, because Eddie Gonzalez, who is well connected with Kevin Durant, he is a much better version of Ernie the man in terms of him with Jimmy, if you know, you know. But he said that he was here to report Bill Simmons is wrong, and he won't elaborate any further. So he says that Kevin Durant and the Spurs haven't already mutually basically agreed to join forces. But, hey, you never know. He could just be trying to put out a smokescreen. But I think we're going to turn this into a larger conversation surrounding the Miami Heat and Kevin Durant. I have been very open about this. I would love to acquire KD. I think it would be a really good addition for the Miami Heat. But I also want it to be abundantly clear, I am not going to be willing to overpay for Durant in a trade and get into a bidding war. KD is still a top 5, top 10 offensively gifted player in the NBA. I mean, you just don't have to look further than what he did last season. The efficiency that he displayed at age 36 is just absolutely ridiculous. But with him being on an expiring $54 million contract this upcoming year, him being 37 years old when the season begins in September, that is something that gives me cause for concern for getting into a bidding war and unloading all of the assets. If the Heat were a KD away from winning the NBA championship, I think we would have a different conversation. But there is no guarantee that if the Heat ultimately acquire Durant in a trade and pair him up with Hero and Bam, they would be able to win the title. Are they a team that competes for the Eastern Conference crown? I think absolutely. I would put them in the top 4 or 5 of the East with Detroit, New York, Cleveland, Indiana, while Boston and Milwaukee take a step back. Now, I don't know if they win. But with that being said, if you did acquire KD, and the reason why I am so in on and still open to trading for him is that he would help out Bam and Hero so much. I think we have come to the conclusion at this point in their NBA careers, Tyler Hero cannot be your best player. He cannot be your best offensive player. I think based off what we saw last season, though, Hero could be your second best offensive player, but third best overall player. And with Bam Adebayo, I don't think he could be your second best player, but he can be your... Actually, let me phrase this. He can't be your second best offensive player, but I think he could be your second best player because of his ability to play both ends of the floor and his big-time moments in the playoffs. But if you acquire KD, KD now becomes your best offensive player, your best overall player, which slots in Tyler Hero to that better role of second best offensive player, third best overall player. And Bam is now your second best player, but third best offensive player, which is, I think, where he needs to be on a championship winning team. So if you're able to get a boosted level of play from your surrounding cast of KD, Bam, and Hero, well, then there is a world where I think they can compete for a title. Can they beat a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder? Probably not. And that's the scary thing, is that you'd probably need them to somehow falter in the West or have an injury occur, which you don't root for, but you'd probably need it. But if you do get elevations from your supporting cast of a KD, Bam, Hero trio, well, then I do really think that maybe Miami could be playing in the NBA Finals next season, since Boston and Milwaukee are taking a step back and the East is more wide open than ever. So that is certainly an intriguing hypothetical. This is why you subscribe to the channel, though, because we are putting out daily content here. Draft rumors, trade rumors. We'll have news when it comes in on trades, on the draft, on free agency. Let's get to 23,000 subscribers before the draft. The draft is 16 days away. Can we get there? We need 389 subscribers. What is that on average? I don't know. I can't do quick math. Was it 30 subscribers a video? That's something around there. So come on, hit that sub button. Let's get there before June 25th. All right, I'm going to showcase 2 KD trade ideas. I said that I'm not willing to overpay for Durant, so here are my 2 offers to the Suns. Now, there's one that I prefer more than others, but here's the first one. And we talked about this last week on a video that I think the Suns are looking for a center of the future. That has been reported. So you could offer Kel'el Ware, Terry Rozier, and Duncan Robinson no draft capital to get Durant. And I want to make this clear. I do not want to trade Kel'el Ware for Kevin Durant, but I would be willing to do it if it means I am getting KD without trading any future picks. If you're able to acquire Kevin Durant and you keep the 20th pick as well as every single future first-round pick you have, you will not only have a chance to compete next year, but you will retain flexibility for the 2026 offseason since Durant's deal is expiring, and you have every single first-round pick that you have currently going through the future. Plus, you would offload yourself from a Terry Rozier contract and Duncan Robinson's contract. So to me, I know a lot of people that don't want to trade Ware for Durant. I understand that. I get it. But I am willing to do it because it improves your roster next year and you keep every single ounce of flexibility for the future. Now, the other trade idea that I had was Nikola Jovic, Andrew Wiggins, and Duncan Robinson. But I do want to make this clear as well. I would be offering a first-round pick. This is a mistake on our end graphically. I like Jovic. I like Wiggins. I like Duncan. That's the salary that needs to be matched, and I would trade the 20th overall pick. Now, with that being said, though, I am not going to offer any more at this point. I've come to this conclusion, a future first-round pick. I would trade the 20th pick in this year's draft. I was listening to other people talking about it, and I do agree. I think it makes sense for Miami to try to explore a Kevin Durant trade, but if you're able to keep your flexibility going forward in the future with your draft capital, that would be ideal. So if I am acquiring KD, there are 2 offers I'm giving. I'm giving Jovic as a young asset, Wiggins as a solid player to help you stay competitive now, Duncan Robinson, which when the Suns could cut him and get underneath the second apron, which is something they want to do. And then I would give them 1 first-round pick because they don't have one in the top 20. They have one at the end of the first round at pick number, I think, 29 or 30 to be exact. And then the other one is obviously the Kelowna Ware deal. So I am fine with those two offers. If the Heat traded for KD, I would hope that one of my two offers ultimately became the ultimately one they got done. But let me know which trade you prefer for Kevin Durant. Is it the first one where you give up Ware, Rozier, or Duncan, no picks? Or is it the one where you trade Nikola Jovic, Andrew Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, and one first-round pick, but it's the one this year and not any in the future, retaining flexibility? Type 1 for 1, type 2 for 2. Let me know your thoughts on which KD trade package you ultimately prefer. And before we round out the conversation on Durant, I want to make this clear one last time. I want to trade for KD. I'm open for it. But I am not going to risk my flexibility for the future when it comes to draft picks. I want to keep flexibility in 20. Because remember, the Heat have every pick to themselves right now, other than 2027, top 10 protected to Charlotte. So they have their own 26, 28, 29, 30, 31, and on draft night, 32. So as you continue to go forward, you will have more picks to offer for other superstars that could become available. And you just have an ability to just be more flexible in general. And I love KD, but 37 years old and an expiring $54 million contract, not giving up future draft picks at this point. One draft pick or Kelowna Ware. That is where I'm kind of pretty much going with a KD trade. We're going to get to Lauri Markkanen here in a second, but make sure you get your Heat quarter zips on sale. Chatsports.com/HeatQZip sale. 50% off, usually $75. You can get it right now for about $37, I believe, and sizes are running out. I own this. I wore it during watch parties this past year, so get the gear that I wear, the coaching staff wears, for $37. Yeah, hello. One more time, chatsports.com/HeatQZip sale. All right, could Lauri Markkanen be on the table for the Miami Heat? Because Bill Simmons, also in that podcast, reported that there's belief around the league that the Jazz are actually listening to offers on Lauri Markkanen. Now, you just take it back 1 year, they were listening to offers on Lauri Markkanen before ultimately giving him a massive extension, which we will discuss here in just 1 second. But there's buzz on Jazz Twitter that a trade could be happening to this roster, whether it is Walker Kessler or Lauri Markkanen. Well, Jake Weinbach, who deals with some NBA rumors, said that the Heat, Pistons, Sixers, and Spurs are among teams that could check in on Lauri Markkanen's availability this summer. He said it's unclear if they're willing to engage, but it sounds like they're at least listening. And when other GMs call Danny Ainge, Ainge is like, you want Lauri? Hanging up. So that's not happening. He's willing to hear out what teams could offer for the former NBA All-Star. And we know just 1 season ago, the Heat were somewhat interested in Lauri Markkanen. Could the Heat spin the block? Now, things could be more complicated with Markkanen being under contract and him having a little bit of a recession year in 24-25, because Markkanen's stock was not higher than it was last year, right? Or offseason, I should say, because Markkanen averaged 23 points a game, shot 40% from three and 48% from the field, and was the first-time All-Star. Like, Lauri Markkanen took a step back. There's no doubt about that in 24-25. But you also have to consider the fact he has not played over 65 games since joining the Utah Jazz roster when he was traded from Cleveland to Utah in that Donovan Mitchell trade package. And then the part that really scares me with a Markkanen deal is that his new contract kicks in this year. He signed a 4-year, $195.8 million contract extension last summer. They said, we're not going to trade you. This offseason, we'll give you the extension. Well, these are the yearly salary numbers. And the point that I am going to make here is that is he worth that contract after watching what happened last year? If he was the efficient, good scoring, good spacer, good shooting Lauri Markkanen that you saw in 23-24, well then, yeah, you're still probably willing to pay him high 40s, low $50 million per season as the salary cap continues to go up year after year. And he looked like a guy that maybe could be a top 2, top 3 player on a contending team. But last season, Lauri Markkanen, not so much, which is why the Jazz ultimately had the worst record in the NBA and had the number 1 lottery odds for the first overall pick going into that lottery drawing. Like, I like Lauri as a player, but I think at this point, I think he's overpaid. Like, I really believe that. You look at that contract, you look at the production he gave you last season. How can you come to the conclusion on anything other than Lauri Markkanen is overpaid? I am not. You're not paying $50 million for a mixture of a 3-4 wing that actually isn't scoring consistently and isn't shooting that efficiently from beyond the arc. Like, that's the appeal with Lauri. His ability to take advantage of mismatches, space the floor offensively, be a little bit of a connecting piece on the defensive end as well. Just hasn't done that so far, or last season. And yeah, he had some good years early on with Chicago and Cleveland, but are you willing to make the trade and then pay Lauri that contract the next couple of years when he's only had one all-star caliber level season? It feels like a potential irresponsible move. I got to be honest. So let me know, would you trade for Lauri Markkanen? Seriously, would you do it knowing how the last 2 years have went, knowing the contract? Let me know. Would you want Lauri Markkanen? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Give you a trade idea from me here just in 1 second. All right, my Lauri Markkanen trade idea is actually the same exact one as the Kevin Durant deal. Jovic, Wiggins, Duncan, and a first-round pick. Got to attach Duncan and either Rozier or Wiggins for salary purposes. You offer one young player and Nikola Jovic, which I think Utah and Danny Ainge would like. Danny Ainge really likes those very versatile, multi-positioned guys that can shoot, handle, pass, can rebound, can defend. Jovic, I think, is someone Danny Ainge would really like. So he's a really good asset, worth a first-round pick. You give up your 20th pick, that's 2 first-round picks. Then you give up the matching salary in Andrew Wiggins and Duncan Robinson. That's all I'm offering. I'm not offering a ton here. And I believe that Markkanen, although the Heat could show some interest in Lauri, isn't something Miami ultimately gets done. Danny Ainge, we know this historically, is a hard negotiator in trades, just like Pat Riley. Ainge and Riley don't have that good of a relationship. I think Danny Ainge would ask for a lot in a Markkanen trade, although I believe Markkanen's trade value has gone down by nearly 50% based off.
We are going to be continuing the series of realistic options the Miami Heat should go for in free agency / trade. Now, today we are going to be doing the small forward position, but there wasn't great small forwards available. So we're going to be putting the small forwards and power forwards together. And then tomorrow we'll be doing the center position. But before we do start today's video, if you guys enjoy Miami Heat content, we do upload every single day. And our goal this year is to upload for 365 days. And I couldn't do it without you guys. So I just want to say I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Continue to keep liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, all that good stuff. And let's get back in today's video. So as you see on this screen right here, this is the Miami Heat team payroll. Now, when we look at our depth, the small forward and power forward position, obviously our small forward currently would be like Andrew Wiggins and then Haywood Highsmith coming off the bench. You can put Jaime and all that other stuff, right? But I think Andrew Wiggins is not on this team beginning of the year. And then Haywood Highsmith is not really a good option at this point. The dude forgot how to play defense, and that's what he was really known for. And he also has 1 year left on his deal, so not really high expectations on him. So we're going to start off with, and mind you, this is not in any particular order or anything like that, but number one, who I would love to have on this team would be Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis this year averaged about 14 points a game, 46% from the field, 36% from the three-point line, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. And no, he got suspended, so it's not like he's injury prone or anything like that. Because look at the season before, played all 82 games. The season, past that 70, 72. So he's usually out there. But when he did come back, still played some really good basketball. And even in the postseason against the Pacers, I mean, outside of game one, he had 28 points, 28 and 12, 10 and 8, 14 and 3, and 14 and 10. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest field goal percentage, but we all know Bobby Portis is a bucket getter. He's about 6'10", so he adds more size to this team, adds more scoring coming off the bench. And I feel like this will be a great option for the Miami Heat. When we do look at his contract, I don't really see him returning back to this Milwaukee Bucks team. I don't think anybody wants to play for this Bucks team, especially if Giannis makes the decision to leave. But as you see, he's on his last year of his deal. It's a player option. So unless they're going to bring him back and pay him a lot of money, he's a free agent. And I think Miami Heat should definitely go after a player like Bobby Portis. I think he's an upgrade over Jaime. He's an upgrade over Jovic. And if we're trying to compete like the front office saying we are, and we're going after these aging vets, you have to add great role players. And Bobby Portis would be one of those great role players. So I love that addition. Number 2 for me would be, a lot of people probably don't know him, but he's on the 76ers. I can never pronounce his name. This is his first year back in the NBA. Last time we seen him was in 2018, 2019. He was playing in the Olympics, and that's kind of where he got his name from. He postered LeBron James, and the 76ers gave him an opportunity, gave him a chance, and he had a really good year, played 70 out of 82 games and 27 minutes of action, had 11 points, 50% from the field, 38% from the three-point line, 5 rebounds, rounded up to 6, 2 assists, and close to 1 steal a game. He was dealing with injuries, and then they also took him out the rotation. I just never understood what the Sixers were doing because he was having such an amazing year. But once again, another player that's still fairly young, only 29 years old, adds size and depth. He's about 6'8", got a wingspan of 7'1", can space out the floor. And I mean, just look at these games against the Bucks and the Timberwolves, 22 points, 19 points. I don't know if the 76ers can afford him, but I would definitely love to bring this type of player to the NBA, to the Miami Heat, at that, power forward position coming off the bench. Or you probably won't start him, but I think this is an excellent addition. And this is the type of player that, he risked. He was getting paid money over there in the Olympics. And, he said, I'm going to take a risk. He signed a 1-year, $2 million deal, and he betted on himself, and he's going to get paid. He just had an amazing year. So we don't care about the 76ers. Let's take them 76ers players away. And yeah, I definitely would love him coming to this team. Now, another 76er would be Kelly Oubre. No, I know a lot of people are not the biggest fans of him. We should have had him like a couple years ago, but we just never went after him. He's still a 15-point scorer, 47% from the field. Not the greatest three-point shooter. 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.5 steals. As you see, his numbers, stay about the same, 15.1, 15.4. Obviously, when he played for Charlotte, your numbers are going to look pretty good. But when he went to Philly, he was always around the 15-point per game guy. So I personally would love to bring him to this Miami Heat team once again. 29 years old, bring in size. He's 6'8", got a wingspan of 7'3". You got to bring valuable role players. I'm going to continue to keep saying this in this video. You got to bring valuable role players. And the 76ers are a mess. They got other stuff that they have to worry about. So I don't know what they're going to do with Kelly Oubre and Yoshi. I'm going to call him Yoshi. That's what his nickname and stuff is. But if we can steal one of them from them, that would be great. Kelly Oubre, once again, is on a player option. So he's a free agent making about $8 million. Once again, these players are going to be cheap. Not like really, really cheap, like minimum deals, but they're going to be cheap. They're affordable. And this is why this video is called Realistic Options, because I know a lot of us is trying to go after the bigger names and stuff like that, which is fine. But depth wins championships. So I think that would be option number 3. And then another option who I thought would fit this team be Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, he averaged about 8 points a game. He shot 40% from the three-point line, 44% from the field. 4 rebounds, 1.4 assists, and average a steal a game. In the postseason, he struggled. That's the concerning part. He had 3.7, 8, 6, and 7. Now, he's not known as a scorer, though. He's more known as a 3-and-D guy, more known as a defender. When he does hit the shot, it makes him more valuable, of course. I can see him going back to the Lakers, but if he's available for a little cheap price, I think he's an upgrade over Haywood Highsmith, respectfully. 6'7", has the experience. He's been in the league forever, since 2016, 2017. Played on some very, very good teams, and I feel like he could fit this Miami Heat culture for sure. When we look at his contract, which he got traded to the Lakers, of course. I'm going to put his contract on the screen right here. So when he got traded to the Lakers, he was on a 4-year, $55 million deal, but now he's on a player option. He's making about $15 million. It'll be interesting to see if he opts in or opts out. I mean, $15 million is a lot, but if he does opt out, probably won't be great for the Miami Heat. Now that I'm thinking about it, because if you don't want 15 million, you're going to want more. And I just feel like he's not worth that. But then again, these players nowadays are getting paid $15 million, and they're not even very, very good, right? We might have Tyler Hero getting paid $50 million, and he definitely doesn't deserve it. So the money in the NBA being thrown around is just crazy. But I think that would be a solid option for sure. A nice 3 and D wing. And then this one, to be honest with you, Jonathan Kuminga, he's very, very interesting, right? He's 22 years old, 6'7", has an up and down career, to be honest with you. I think he's leaving the Warriors. There's no point in him staying there. But when Curry got hurt, he finished the playoffs very, very strong. 18 points, 8 for 11, 30, 11 for 18, 23, 6 for 13, 26, 11 for 23. So he finished off very, very strong. And I just don't think he's a good fit for the Warriors. I think he's gone. Jonathan Kuminga will be like a feature, like that's the type of player that you kind of have to like build with, like Tyler and Bam and Kuminga. The only thing about this one is that he's gonna probably be a little bit more expensive than all the other players that I talked about in today's video, just because he's younger. And the Warriors are gonna want something in return. Maybe the Warriors want a center, but I'm not doing a swap of Ware and Kuminga. I'm just not doing that. You know what I mean? But if we could find a way to get Jonathan Kuminga, I still think it's a realistic option over like, Giannis's and stuff like that. But if we can get him to this team, I wouldn't be mad at all. Like I said, I feel like he could fit this Heat culture. He's a restricted free agent. He's gone. I think the Warriors are going to try to do a sign and trade, but
Davis and or Kyrie Irving could arise this summer thanks to the continued organizational dysfunction within the Mavs. According to NBA scribe Mark Stein, the New York Knicks are expected to request an interview with current Mavs head coach Jason Kidd. It's unclear how the Mavs are going to respond to that request, but if they allow Kidd to do so, and if the Knicks hire him, it could add another layer of uncertainty for Dallas heading into the future, especially considering that both Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis are said to have a strong relationship with Kidd. If Kidd were to leave Dallas for New York, it could open the door for more changes for the Mavs. At that point, Kyrie or AD could pressure the organization for a trade due to the consistent instability. Again, this scenario may be a few domino pieces away from dropping, but things can change quickly in the association. If that were to happen and Kyrie or AD were to pursue another change of scenery to escape a potential sinking ship in Dallas, that's where the Heat could truly take advantage of a situation. Known to feast on disgruntled stars, the Heat could enter the fray as a potential landing spot for Kyrie or AD. In an economy where there could be even bigger names on the trade block, perhaps players like Kyrie and AD could be considered much more realistic targets for the Heat, especially compared to Giannis Antetokounmpo. And you, fan, what do you think about Anthony Davis' situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.